You've probably tried the swaddle, the white noise machine, the vibrating bassinet, the pacifier, the app that plays womb sounds on a loop. All of it, in the middle of the night while your baby is still crying. Here's something that might change how you hear that cry. What your baby needs in that moment is often far simpler than any gadget on your registry, and completely free. Because crying isn't a malfunction. It isn't your baby giving you a hard time, and it isn't proof you're doing something wrong. It's actually one of the most sophisticated communication systems your baby has, months before a single word comes out of her mouth. Researchers who study infant development even gave this stretch of intense, unexplained crying a name most parents have never heard, even though almost every parent lives through it. It's called the period of purple crying, a framework used by pediatric researchers to describe the completely normal, temporary rise in crying that peaks around 6 to 8 weeks and has nothing to do with anything you did. Picture this. It's 9 p.m. Your baby has been fed, changed, rocked, and she's still crying, harder now, and nothing you try seems to work. You start running through a mental checklist. Hungry, tired, wet, too hot, too cold. But sometimes none of those boxes get checked, and she cries anyway. That's not a sign you're missing something. That's your baby's nervous system, still new brand to the world, doing exactly what it's built to do. And once you understand what's actually happening underneath that cry, the whole experience starts to feel less like a mystery and more like something you can actually meet with confidence.
For a long time, the common assumption was that crying always meant something was wrong, a problem to solve, a signal with one correct answer. Find a cause, fix the cause, crying stops. But researchers looking closely at early infancy found something that surprised a lot of pediatric professionals. A significant amount of crying in the first few months isn't tied to any fixable cause at all. It's developmental. It rises in the early weeks, peaks around 6 to 8 weeks, and then gradually fades, following a curve so predictable that researchers can chart it almost like a growth spurt. Not because of something you did or didn't do, because your baby's brain and nervous system are going through a rapid, intense stretch of wiring, and crying is one of the ways that gets expressed. Think about what that means. Crying isn't always a question you're failing to answer. Sometimes it's simply a phase your baby's nervous system is moving through, on a timeline that has almost nothing to do with your parenting. And here's the part that matters most. This pattern shows up across income levels, across cultures, across every kind of family researchers have studied. A baby in a quiet, well-resourced home goes through this exact same curve as a baby anywhere else. It isn't a reflection of your resources, your instincts, or your effort. It's biology, playing out on its own schedule. Now picture the mechanism underneath it. Your baby's brain is forming an enormous number of new neural connections in these early months, faster than almost any other point in life. That rapid wiring can make her more sensitive to overstimulation, more easily overwhelmed by a normal evening of lights, sounds, and handling. Crying becomes the release valve for a nervous system that's simply taking in more than it can process in the moment.
Here's a study that captures this in a way that's hard to forget. Researchers studying infant soothing looked at what happens when a crying baby is picked up and walked versus held still versus left in a crib. Using heart rate monitors, they found something almost immediate. Within seconds of being picked up and walked, a baby's heart rate drops, crying quiets, and the whole body seems to settle. They even found a version of this same calming response in other mammals, mice, dogs, when their young are picked up and moved. It's less a modern parenting trick and more something built deep into mammalian biology. Motion plus contact tells a young, developing nervous system, you're safe now. That's the whole appeal of some of those bouncing chairs and swaddle products, by the way. They're trying to replicate something your arms already do,
for free and more responsively than any machine. So here's the important part, and I want to say this plainly. None of this is about blame. If you've ever felt like you must be doing something wrong because your baby won't stop crying, that feeling is common and it's not accurate. This is biology and development, not a performance review. So what can you actually do in the moment, in about 5 minutes? First, run a quick, calm checklist. Hungry, wet, tired, too hot or cold? Then let go of needing a perfect answer if nothing fits. Something like, okay, you're fed and dry, this might just be a big feeling, said quietly to yourself, can lower your own stress in the moment. Second, add motion and contact together. Pick her up, hold her close, and walk slowly around the room rather than staying still. You might sway gently while saying, I've got you, in a low, steady voice. Third, lower the surrounding stimulation. Dim the lights, quiet the room, and let your voice be the loudest, calmest thing she notices. Try humming one low, repeated note instead of talking. None of this needs a specialty swing, a $200 sound machine, or a subscription soothing app. Your voice, your arms, and a slow walk across the room can do what those products are only trying to imitate. Think back to that 9 p.m. moment, the checklist that came up empty, the slow walk around the room, the low hum in your voice, and the way her crying softened just a little, just because you kept holding on. None of that required a gadget. It required you staying steady through something that was never actually about you failing at anything. And if you're watching this after a hard night, or bracing for one, the fact that you're here, trying to understand what's happening instead of just white-knuckling through it, says something good about you. That's not a small thing. That's the kind of parent who shows up, even in the crying, even at 9 p.m. If this helped you see crying a little differently, the smallest thing you can do is subscribe, so this is here for the next hard night too. If you know another parent in the thick of it right now, a like helps this find them. And if you'd like more like this, new videos on early development land here every week. Your baby's cry was never a verdict on you. It was just her, still learning how to be in the world, and you already learning how to meet her there. That's the whole truth of it, and it was gentler than it felt at 9 p.m.